Morning, I'm John Crowley. I'm manager for Bitter Root Irrigation District. I've been with the district for 17 years, so I have a lot of experience with the inner workings of Como Dam and our canal system. As you can see the backdrop, Como Lake is our primary source of irrigation water. So with that being said, we have about 38,495 acre feet. Not right now, but when we have full pool. This lake is dependent on snowpack. There's roughly 25,000 acres of area that we depend on for snowpack, and usually we're pretty consistent on getting enough water or snowpack runoff to fill Como Dam. So with that being said, some of the little bit of workings on this, the district was basically built in 1906 and started running in 1910. So we've been around for a little over 110 years. Presently we have 1,600 water users. We have approximately 16,665 irrigated acres. So we have quite a few people and a lot of responsibility with all our users downstream. So that's we have a lot of egg production downstream, roughly upwards of approximately $9 to $10 million in egg production just from this irrigation district. Just the workings of our ditch. We have right behind me, we have where our inlet structure is and our gatehouse, and that's kind of the brains of the operation. So we have two big valves in there. It's our pipe is roughly 66 inches, and that's what pulls water from the inlet and it goes to the outlet works. So it travels in a pipe underneath the gatehouse, and the valves control the flow. So if I need more water, I'll raise the valve. If I need less, then I close them. From there, it goes underneath and comes out into our stilling pond, which is to the east of us. And from there, it diffuses the energy and we send it down Rock Creek. And we're about 1.25 miles downstream. We pick it up through our diversion. And there we have about 350 acre, or pardon me, CFS that we send down. Some of the infrastructure we have that is on the big ditch is we have 9 large siphons. And what this means is we bring water across these big draws. So there's just a little bit of change in elevation. So it's able to do, they call it an inverted siphon. So the water up here, and it's able to cross the ravine and bring water over to the other side. A lot of places we have a little bit of lining, not a lot, but we're starting to see more and more of it, especially with the urbanization. So it's just people are encroaching on the ditch. So it's something people need to be aware of. If you're close to the toe of the ditch, you will get subbing water. So a lot of times we can come in with lining. However, that is very expensive product. So we've got to just be frugal with it. And if it looks like a safety issue, or if it looks like an area we're losing a lot of water, we'll come in and start lining our ditches here and there just to conserve water. Now with that also, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because all this water, we're about 45% efficient. So the rest of it is being transposed, so to speak, into the aquifer for the valley. So that is critical to replenish the wells. So during startup, all these wells or our aquifer, we start to recertify the water in the ground. So Montana Tech did a study that just ensures that there is a surface water, groundwater contact there, so there's a relationship there. So it's critical that we have the big ditch. With all the people coming into the valley, there's a lot more straws coming into the aquifer. So probably a role for the districts, and it's not only ours, all of them, is we're replenishing the aquifer so people have got drinking water. During the course of the off season, which is now, we'll start closing our valves down. And what this does is we're able to start storing water. So we're really, like I said earlier, we're really dependent on snowpack. So during the course of the winter time, we have what we call measuring gauges and snowtail sites. And we have a snowtail site that's just on the other side over in the Lost Horse drainage side. So what this does is during the course of the winter months, it gives me the total snowpack, and I have a chart that equates to how many acre feet of snow are up there. So if we have a really good season, usually we're about 110%, if not a little bit more. A little bit shorter season is less snowpack, and a lot of it has to do with snow water content. So if it's a really light powdery sugary snow, you don't have as much moisture. If we have our good heavy wet snowpacks, then we get a lot of moisture in that. So that's critical for me as a manager to know these stats, so I can adjust the lake as we're filling during the springtime to make additions or corrections, as in I can open up the valves and release more water to let the snowpack water come in here. So, and speaking of that, we also have a spillway on the end of the dam on the left groin that once I lose control, so to speak, I can no longer adjust out of the gatehouse valves. The spillway will take over, so it'll start releasing water, and it'll release up to 7,700 acre feet of water. So that's quite a bit of water going over the spillway. As you can see behind me, this parapet wall, it has nothing to do with retaining more water in the lake. It just has the purpose of basically keeping, if I have a full pool up to the crest of the dam, which is the top of the dam, it just keeps water from overtopping and wave action, which would potentially erode the dam. So that's the only purpose. It's not for storage, so it's just as a safety precaution. And this was done during the 91 to 95 safety of dams modification. So they put in this parapet wall, increased the acre feet from basically 4143 up to 4246. And when I'm talking that, I'm talking elevation. So the top of the spillway is 4246. So the top of the dam crest is 55.3. So, and then the parapet wall is another 3 feet in addition. And like I said, that has nothing to do with storage. During startup, what we call startup, if we have a lot of high water throughout the valley, we have water rights, and they're high water rights to several tributaries. Like I mentioned, Lost Horse, it's the next drainage over, so we have a high priority water right on that. So, or a junior water right. So what they mean by that is they have what they call river commissioners, and they kind of tell you basically when you have to shut off. So as the water starts to recede, they'll tell you you need to stop using our water. So like I said, we've got Lost Horse, Skelcoho Creek, daily ditches. They pretty much are the #1 water right on Skelcoho Creek. So basically we can get a little bit of water. And what this does, these tributaries, they help me as a manager to help fill Como Lake. So if we have struggling to fill Como Dam, we can go downstream, and if there's enough water, I can go in and pull water out of these tributaries, Lost Horse, Skelcoho Creek, Willow Creek, Burn Fork, and 3 Mile Creek. So I got 5 drainages that we have, like I said, high priority or junior water rights. So we can come in there and they'll go into our canal, and we can utilize that water for our users, and I can hold back up here at the dam. Some of the do's and don'ts in our valley is if you have an open ditch running through your property, doesn't mean you can use the water out of there. You have to have water right to that ditch, and that's with BRID. If you have any questions, if people have questions, they're more than welcome to call the office. We can go out there and look at the piece of ground, see whether it has water attached to the parcel, or see how you get your water to your property. So BRID water, it's for irrigation only. Users will be quick to let you know if you're doing something wrong, because it's if you're in a ditch diverting it for a pond, you cannot do that. Like I said, our water right is for irrigation only, not impoundment or for making these big ponds. Also, people like to kind of walk the big ditch. It's a nice level walking path. We cannot have people up there. We can't have any what they call third parties. So we have easements and right-of-ways, so we cannot have people up there walking. It's a very hazardous canal. We have in our 8 large siphons or 9 large siphons, we have grizz intake structures. If you get caught into there, you will be sucked in, and we have no way of getting you out. So stay off the ditch. Don't be up there walking. But like I said, this is a hazardous project. We do a lot of maintenance in the off season, so if there's trees on the ditch, we will be taking them. We have a 100-foot easement from the center of the ditch, 50 feet on each side. So if there's trees, we like to take them out. And the reason is when we get these big windstorms during, the course of the season, not so much during the off season, but during the summer season or during our irrigation season, these trees will blow down and they'll block the ditch. And if that happens, we're gonna breach. And if it breaches, then my water's going everywhere. So it's just a hazard. If you have trees on there, those are just, we've got to take them off. And it's just, a hazard to the ditch and to people. So safety is probably the #1 priority for Bitter Root Irrigation District. Also, with that being said, with the water as low as it is, this is typical for Montana. This lake was built for irrigation and not recreation. So it's critical that people understand that, because we have 1,600 water users that basically own this dam and the water rights behind there to use. So they're the ones that are footing the bill. When I talk with the Forest Service, they're the underlying owner. So we have a good relationship, good rapport with the Forest Service. So they understand that recreation, you're gonna peak probably May, June, and July. That's when the fullest is on Como Lake. And you can see during the month of August, we start drawing down pretty heavy. And then, right here in September, we're almost down to hardly anything. And a lot of times there's a purpose this year for draining the lake is we have an intake structure out there where the vortex is. And every 6 years we have to go out there and inspect the intake structure to make sure there's nothing wrong with that. So folks, like I said, this was made for irrigation and not recreation. So we get upwards of probably 200, maybe even 300,000 people now visiting this lake. So a lot of pressure on the lake. Just be, I guess, thoughtful or responsible and pick up your trash. We don't want to see that any more than anybody else does. So be a good Montanan and pick up your trash, pack in what you pack in, pack out. So it's just, we want to keep our waters clean, and we don't need any invasive species such as the quagga mussel or Eurasian milfoil in our lake, because that'll just cause irreparable damage. It would cause large-scale damage that would, basically shut down the pipe system. Zebra mussel, it's just such a fast-growing barnacle that it would close up our inlet structure. We'd have to go in there every year to try to clean that out. So please don't, like Montana says, we want our boats clean coming into our waterways. So the Columbia Basin is probably about the only basin now that is free-flowing of the zebra and the quagga mussel. So please keep our waterways clean. Okay, during the winter months, if we get a lot of snowpack or snow in our valley floors, and a lot of times we can get what they call a rain-on-snow event, and we have no waters in any of our canals or ditches. And if it starts to rain, all that water is going to find its way to these canals and ditches. And people call us up and say, hey, you need to turn off your water. Well, it has nothing to do with us. That's Mother Nature. And the water is seeking where it can, come through. So a lot of times, these areas, these low-lying areas, are going to get flooded out. People are starting to build in areas where they probably shouldn't. And we're starting to see people get flooded out, especially if we get a rain-on-snow event. So it's really critical, because we can't, if we start getting a lot of water in the ditches, we try to dump it out. And probably the hardest thing is we start to get ice flows. and the ice flows can jam up on our say culvert pipes, or even our bridge structures. So it'll start to build up and overtop. Like I said, there is nothing. We call that an act of God. So the district is not responsible, neither are any of the other districts. So it is critical. So if you guys are building your houses, you might want to keep that in mind, because there's a lot of places where the tributaries have, the drainages have been changed, and that was a long time ago. We have lost a couple dump sites. One is up there on Soft Rock. So we used to have a dump site that we could probably dump about 50 CFS and not, hinder anybody. Over the course of time, people have encroached on that dump site, so we have pretty much lost that. Another safety point is if we start to get we see what we call a high water leak up in the higher part of the ditch, and it starts to move material out, we're looking for dump sites. So our primary ones are Skelkaho, Willow Creek, and Burnt Fork, and 3 Mile Creek. So we got 4 of them, and we'd like more, but since all these people are encroaching on these dump sites, we can't dump. And what that does is, if we cannot get that water stopped on these high water leaks, and if it breaches, it takes, in certain areas, it can take up to 20 plus hours to stop that water, and that water is coming from both directions. So people, they call up, you need to stop your water, you need to stop your water. We can't do nothing. We've got 20 plus hours in the ditch until that water stops. So it's not like a hose bib. You can go out there and turn it off and it shuts off immediately. It's just a fact of life, and that's why it's so important that we keep up on our maintenance, which we do very much so. And like I mentioned about trees, blowdowns, and our ditch riders, they ride their ditches daily. We got 3 ditch riders that look for high water leaks or potential problems, blowdowns. So they're out there every day riding their beat and checking for potential problems. So if you see them, say hi, but please stay off the ditch. They've got a lot of responsibility. We have a dam tender that's up here daily. We've got several inspections through the course of the season. Bureau Reclamation, they kind of, Big Brother oversees our dam and our project. They come out for annual inspections. They come out for comprehensive facility reviews. So there's a lot of safety for Como Dam. When they did the safety dams modification, they come in and put a reinforcing tow berm in. They put inspection wells. So all these help us as dam tenders, ditch riders, to see if there's any potential problems, especially up at Como Dam, because it's a high hazard dam, and if we were to breach, we know we'd have loss of life downstream. So we take this responsibility very serious. Like I said, we're up here all the time. We've got monthly reports, and all these reports go back to either Denver is probably the primary headquarters for the Bureau of Reclamation. We have a regional office, which is in Boise, Idaho, and then our field office is Ephrata, Washington. So those are areas, and these people are always calling and talking to us, especially during spring runoff. They're saying, hey, John, just as an extra eye, hey, how are you looking up there? Well, we're looking pretty good, or we're starting to get a lot of water. What are you doing? Well, what's your game plan? It's, well, my valves are open. I can let up to 600 CFS. So this is where we're kind of talking back and forth. They said, okay, you're spot on with what we're looking at. Water is life here in the valley. If we didn't have water, we wouldn't be able to, function here, so to speak. You can look on the cadastral or even on Google Earth and see where the big ditch is, and you can look down below it and you can see how fertile the valley is, and that's due to the water. You can look above it and you see how dry and desolate it is. So, like I said, water is everything to the valley, and there are several other irrigation districts, so we're just one of many in the valley.